Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Anders Buckley. Over the years, I have spent a great deal of time around business, finance, and people making important life decisions. And during that time, I began noticing something interesting, something that seemed almost impossible, something that many people never realize. $1 million. Actually, much more than $1 million. That is how much an average household could potentially add to retirement savings over a lifetime through relatively small changes. Simple changes, not extreme changes, not living without enjoyment, not eliminating everything that makes life enjoyable. Simple changes. Because many people believe financial success is only about earning more money, more income, more promotions, more opportunities. And while income matters, there is another side of the equation that people often overlook. Awareness. Understanding where money is actually going. Because every day, people spend money without thinking very much about it. A coffee here, a subscription there. Food delivery, streaming services, impulse purchases, small expenses, convenient expenses. Expenses that often seem harmless by themselves. And none of them feel dangerous. $5 here, $10 there. Nothing seems large. Nothing feels life-changing. But over time, something fascinating begins to happen. Small decisions slowly become large numbers. And what if we could simply see those numbers more clearly? What if budgeting could reveal something we never noticed before? Because today I want to show you something surprising. I want to show you how awareness alone may completely change the trajectory of an entire lifetime. Let's begin with something almost everyone has. Subscriptions. Now, subscriptions are not bad, not at all. Many subscriptions provide real value. Movies, music, cloud storage, fitness programs, professional tools, educational services. There is nothing wrong with paying for things that improve your life. But here's an interesting question. How many subscriptions do you currently have? Really think about it. Not just the ones you remember immediately. All of them. Streaming services, phone applications, music services, gaming subscriptions, cloud storage, shopping memberships, premium services. Now here's something surprising. The average person spends more than $200 every year on subscriptions they don't even use. Think about that for a moment. Money leaving an account for something providing no value. And I am not suggesting canceling everything. Not at all. I am not suggesting giving up entertainment. I am not suggesting removing enjoyment from life. I'm simply asking a much smaller question. Can we reduce our unused subscriptions by half? Just half. Not all of them. Half. Suddenly $200 becomes $100. $100 saved. And $100 may not feel life-changing. But remember something important. We are not investigating one giant financial decision. We are investigating small financial leaks. And small leaks become much more interesting when we start adding them together. Now, let's look at something even more interesting. Impulse purchases. Because unlike subscriptions, many people do remember making these purchases, at least for a few minutes. You are standing in line at a store. You see something small, something convenient, something interesting. You open your phone. You see an advertisement. You see a discount. You see limited time offer. Only today. Last chance. And suddenly something happens. $5, $20. Nothing feels very expensive. Nothing feels dangerous. In fact, most impulse purchases feel completely harmless. Because individually, they usually are. But now here is the surprising part. The average consumer spends an estimated $3,381 every year on impulse purchases. $3,381. And here is my favorite question. Do you remember spending it? Because people usually remember large purchases. People remember buying a car. People remember buying a television. People remember buying a computer. But people rarely remember 40 small purchases scattered across an entire year. And that is why impulse spending becomes so interesting. Because it does not feel like spending. It feels like convenience. It feels like reward. It feels like, I'll just get this one thing. Now again, I am not suggesting eliminating enjoyment. Not at all. I am simply asking, what happens if we become a little more intentional? Now let's move to something that many people enjoy every day: coffee. And let me say this immediately. I am not against coffee. Not at all. Some of you may be drinking coffee right now. And honestly, I completely understand. Coffee is not simply coffee. It can be routine, comfort, energy, a small reward during a busy day. For many people, it becomes part of daily life. But budgeting asks a different question. Budgeting does not ask, should I stop drinking coffee? Budgeting asks, how much am I actually spending? Because small daily habits often become invisible. $5 today, $5 tomorrow, $5 the next day. Nothing feels expensive. Nothing feels dramatic. But over time, something interesting begins to happen. The average indulgent coffee spending per person in the United States is estimated around $1,100 annually. For a family, that can easily approach $2,000 each year, for something many people never even think about. Now, let's combine that with another modern convenience: food delivery. Again, nothing wrong with convenience, nothing wrong with saving time. Life becomes busy, people work hard, families become exhausted. Sometimes convenience makes sense, but the average family spends approximately $1,600 each year on food delivery services. Now suddenly we have $2,000 plus $1,600, $3,600, and we are still investigating only small conveniences, small decisions, small habits, small financial leaks. Now let's talk about entertainment, streaming services, cable television, movies, shows, sports packages. Again, there is nothing wrong with entertainment. There is nothing wrong with relaxing after a long day. There is nothing wrong with enjoying your favorite shows. This is not about eliminating enjoyment. Not at all. This is about awareness. Because something interesting has happened over the last several years. People used to have cable. Then many people moved towards streaming because streaming seemed cheaper. And individually, it often was. But then something happened. People added Netflix, then another service, then another. And suddenly many households found themselves paying for multiple services at the same time. Cable, streaming, premium subscriptions, additional packages, and according to estimates, American households spend approximately $1,500 every year on cable and streaming services. $1,500. Now think about something for a moment. How many of those services do people actually use every week? How many are watched every month? How many quietly renew without anyone noticing? Because budgeting sometimes reveals a surprising truth. People are not paying for entertainment. Sometimes people are paying for unused entertainment. And there is a very important difference. So again, I am not suggesting canceling everything. Not at all. I am asking a much smaller question. Can we simply become more intentional? Because our investigation is beginning to reveal a pattern. Now, let's discuss something that many people never actually see: credit card interest. Not credit cards themselves. Credit cards are tools, and like most tools, they can be used carefully or carelessly. But something interesting happens with credit cards. People often focus on what they are buying today. They rarely focus on what they may continue paying tomorrow. Imagine purchasing something for $100. That purchase feels like $100. But if a balance remains on the card, something quietly begins happening in the background. Interest, month after month, year after year, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. And many households never really notice it, because nobody receives a message saying, "Congratulations, you just paid hundreds of dollars for money you already spent." But according to estimates, the average annual credit card interest paid per household is approximately $2,200. $2,200. Think about that. $2,200. Not reducing debt, not buying groceries, not buying a car, not building savings, not investing, simply paying interest. Now let me be very clear. I am not suggesting that everyone should eliminate credit cards. Not at all. Credit cards can provide convenience, rewards, protection, benefits. That is not the issue. The issue is awareness. Because budgeting can reveal something many people never notice: how much money is being spent on the past instead of the future. Now we arrive at something almost everyone experiences: transportation. For most people, transportation is not optional. People need transportation to go to work, to go to school, to take children to appointments, to buy groceries. Reliable transportation matters, but transportation also creates something interesting. Many people see the vehicle, very few people see the annual cost. Let's look at a simple example. The average family drives approximately 14,000 miles every year. Let's assume gasoline costs around $4 per gallon. Now consider two vehicles, a larger truck and a mid-size sedan. A typical truck may average somewhere between 16 and 22 miles per gallon. Let's use 19. A mid-size sedan may average approximately 32 miles per gallon. And suddenly something interesting begins to happen. Fuel costs begin separating these two choices. The average family can easily spend approximately $2,500 every year on gasoline. $2,500. For many people, that number feels surprising because people buy gasoline a little at a time. $30 here, $40 there, $60 somewhere else. Nobody walks into a gas station and says, "I'd like to spend $2,500 this year." But eventually, that is exactly what happens. Now let me be very clear. I am not suggesting everyone sell their truck tomorrow. Not at all. I am not suggesting eliminating enjoyment. I am simply asking a question. Could we reduce this category by half? Perhaps through a more fuel-efficient vehicle? Perhaps by driving less? Perhaps through small changes? And remember something important. We are discussing only fuel. We have not even mentioned insurance, maintenance, repairs, or registration costs. Now let's pause for a moment, because I want to make something very clear. I am not suggesting eliminating enjoyment from life. Not at all. I am not suggesting canceling every subscription. I am not suggesting giving up coffee. I am not suggesting never ordering food. I am not suggesting driving a tiny car. That is not the message, because life should be enjoyable. People work hard. People deserve enjoyment. People deserve convenience. People deserve rewards. That is not the problem. The problem appears when people spend money without realizing where it is going. Because remember what we have seen so far: unused subscriptions, impulse purchases, coffee spending, food delivery, streaming services, credit card interest, transportation costs. Individually, none of these categories felt dangerous. None of them felt extreme. Most of them felt small. Most of them felt harmless. But now I want to ask a different question. What if we did not eliminate these things? What if we simply reduce them just a little, not completely, just enough to become more intentional? What if we reduce these categories by 50%? Not because we want to suffer, not because we want to eliminate enjoyment, but because we want to understand our own behavior. And if we invested those savings every year, what would happen? Let's imagine someone graduates college at age 22. Let's imagine retirement at age 65. 43 years. 43 years of small decisions. 43 years of investing. 43 years of compounding. Now here comes the interesting part. All right, let's put everything together. Let's see what happens. Let's imagine we reduce these categories by only 50%. Not eliminate. Not remove completely, simply reduce. Let's start with transportation. Gas spending, $2,500 per year. 50% reduction, $1,250 saved. Cable and streaming, $1,500 per year. 50% reduction, $750 saved. Coffee spending, approximately $2,000 per year. 50% reduction, $1,000 saved. Food delivery, $1,600 annually. 50% reduction, $800 saved. Credit card interest, approximately $2,200 annually. 50% reduction, $1,100 saved. Impulse purchases, approximately $3,381 annually. 50% reduction, $1,690 saved. That's a grand total of $4,300 saved annual. Unused subscriptions, $200 annually. 50% reduction, $100 saved. Now let's add everything together. $1,250 plus $750 plus $1,000 plus $800 plus $1,100 plus $1,690 plus $100. Total annual savings, approximately $7,690. Now imagine investing that amount every year. Age 22, retirement age 65, 43 years. Average annual return, 6%. And now the result. Not $10,000, not $100,000, not even $500,000, approximately $1,440,000. And now we arrive at the most surprising part. You would not contribute $1.44 million yourself. You would personally contribute approximately $330,000. The market growth? $1,100,000. Take a moment and think about that. Over $1 million generated by time, generated by compounding, generated by awareness. $1 million. Actually, closer to $1.4 million. Let that number sit for a moment. $1.4 million. Now let me be very clear. Very clear. I am not suggesting giving up coffee. I am not suggesting canceling every subscription. I am not suggesting never ordering food delivery. I am not suggesting eliminating enjoyment from life. Not at all. Because life should be enjoyed. People work hard. People deserve comfort. People deserve rewards. People deserve convenience. That was never the message. The message was awareness. Because budgeting does not magically create money. Budgeting reveals money. It reveals where money quietly disappears. It reveals spending patterns we never noticed. It reveals small financial leaks that slowly become large financial outcomes. Because remember something important. We did not create $1.4 million from extreme sacrifice. We did not create $1.4 million from becoming rich overnight. We did not create $1.4 million by winning the lottery. We created it from small decisions, small awareness, small adjustments, and small adjustments repeated over a lifetime can become enormous outcomes. Because the paycheck was never disappearing. The money was always going somewhere. The question was simply whether we knew where. And perhaps the most important question we can ask ourselves is not, how much money do I make? Perhaps the better question is, do I know where my money is going? Because sometimes changing a financial future does not begin with making more money. Sometimes it begins with paying attention. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Anders Buckley. Take care of yourselves, make smart decisions, and I'll see you in the next video.